High Chancellor Vexthor drummed his crystalline fingers against the obsidian throne, each tap echoing through the vast chambers of the Arxian imperial palace. Before him stood human ambassador Catherine Walsh, her small frame dwarfed by the towering architecture designed to intimidate lesser species. But there was nothing lesser about the way she held herself. The Arxian Empire's expansion into the Orion Nebula violates 17 separate treaties, Walsh stated, her voice carrying through the chamber with unwavering authority. The indigenous species there are under human protection. We request immediate withdrawal of all colonial forces. Vexthor's bioluminescent markings pulsed with barely contained rage. In 10,000 years of Arxian rule, no species had dared to make demands of them. Certainly not these humans, barely 3 centuries into their spacefaring age. Request denied, he responded, mandibles clicking in amusement. The Arxian Empire claims whatever territory it desires. Your species would do well to remember its place in the galactic hierarchy. Ambassador Walsh pulled out a data crystal, its surface gleaming with stored information. Then you leave me no choice but to present evidence of your violations to the Galactic Council, including documentation of your force's treatment of the nebula's native populations. Lord Commander Zixtal stepped forward from the shadows, his combat carapace reflecting the chamber's ambient light. My Lord Chancellor, the human speaks of matters beyond her understanding. Perhaps a demonstration of our displeasure is in order. Vexthor raised a hand, considering. The Arxian Empire controlled 50,000 systems. Their fleet numbered in the millions. Humans, with their mere 100 colonies and primitive ships, were an annoyance at best. Perhaps it was time to remind them of that fact. Proceed, he commanded. What happened next would be replayed countless times in the years to come. Lord Commander Zixtal's plasmonauts hummed to life. Ambassador Walsh's security detail reached for their weapons, but Arxian guards had already surrounded them. The lance fired, a brilliant purple beam striking Walsh directly in the chest. She didn't scream, didn't beg. Her final act was to press a small button on her wrist device, her eyes locked with Vexthor's until the last moment. Clean this mess, Vexthor ordered as Walsh's body crumpled to the floor. Send the standard diplomatic apology package to Earth. Double the usual compensation. That should settle the matter. First Minister Kellra, always the voice of caution, stepped forward. My Lord Chancellor, humans have shown unusual responses to aggression in their history. Perhaps we should. They are nothing, Vexthor interrupted. A species that hasn't even mastered gravitational manipulation. Their response is irrelevant. But in the days that followed, the humans didn't respond at all. No protests, no demands for justice, no diplomatic outrage, just silence. That silence should have terrified them. Instead, the Arxian Empire continued its business as usual. Trade routes hummed with activity. Military patrols continued their rounds. The mighty machinery of Empire ground forward, unchanged and unconcerned. Then the human corporations began withdrawing, quietly at first. A cancelled contract here, a suspended service there. When questioned, their representatives smiled politely and cited internal restructuring. By the time First Minister Kellra compiled a report showing just how deeply human businesses had integrated into the Empire's economy, it was too late. Critical supply chains began to falter. Software systems developed mysterious glitches. Manufacturing facilities discovered they couldn't function without specific human-made components. They've been planning this, Kellra realized, studying the patterns. Every trade deal, every technological exchange. They were mapping our vulnerabilities. Lord Commander Zixtal dismissed these concerns. They're running scared, nothing more. Their military assets are withdrawing to their core worlds. They know they can't stand against us. But junior analyst Tixley saw something different in the data. Sir, these movements aren't random. They're evacuating in a precise pattern. Like clearing aboard before, the transmission came exactly 30 days after Walsh's death. It broadcast simultaneously across every communication channel in the Empire. The message was simple. You mistake silence for weakness. Tomorrow, you learn the difference. That night, Vexthor stood in his private chambers, watching the capital's lights glitter below. 10,000 years of Archean dominance had taught them that power meant never having to fear consequences. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The next morning, human warships would appear in their space. Not the primitive vessels they'd shown the galaxy, but something far more advanced. The Archean Empire was about to discover that humanity had spent decades preparing for this moment, hiding their true strength behind a mask of technological inferiority. They were about to learn why, throughout human history, silence had never meant surrender. It meant preparation. For 3 centuries, humanity had perfected the art of appearing weak. Admiral James Blackwood stood on the bridge of the HSS Retribution, watching holographic displays track the final evacuations from Archean space. His vessel, like the rest of humanity's true fleet, had remained hidden in dimensional pocket space, invisible to even the most advanced Archean sensors. Final civilian transport clear, Admiral, reported Commander Helena Rodriguez. Operation Shadow Walk is complete. All human assets and personnel have been extracted from Imperial territory. Blackwood nodded, his weathered face reflecting the soft blue glow of tactical displays. Show me the breakdown of Phase 1 impacts. The holographic display shifted, showing cascading failures throughout the Archean Empire's economic system. The withdrawal of human technology and expertise had triggered exactly the systemic collapses their analysts had predicted. Their industrial capacity is down 40%, Helena continued. Their quantum communication network is experiencing unexplained failures, and their automated defense systems are reporting ghost signals. Quantum sabotage devices, Blackwood asked. Activating exactly as designed. Every maintenance visit, every repair job, every system upgrade over the last 50 years. We left presence behind. Microscopic quantum computers, dormant until now. They're waking up, spreading through their networks like a digital cancer. The Admiral allowed himself a grim smile. Humanity had learned long ago that the best weapon wasn't the one you pointed at your enemy. It was the one they invited into their home. Signal from Fleet Command, announced Lieutenant Park. Admiral Yoshida sends final confirmation. All battle groups are in position. Blackwood activated the fleet-wide communication channel. His voice would reach every human vessel hidden throughout the galaxy, waiting for this moment. This is Admiral Blackwood. The Archean Empire believed they could murder our ambassador with impunity. They assumed our silence meant fear. Our withdrawal meant weakness. They forgot that humanity's greatest strength has never been our weapons or our technology. It's our patience. He paused, letting the words sink in. For 300 years, we showed them what they expected to see. Primitive ships held together with outdated technology. An economy dependent on their trade routes. A military that couldn't possibly threaten their dominance. And they never questioned why a species that had mastered faster than light travel in less than a century would suddenly stop innovating. The tactical display updated, showing the positions of over 5,000 human warships, each carrying weapons the Archeans had never seen. Quantum-phased plasma cannons. dimensional shear projectors, gravity lance arrays. Technology humanity had developed in secret, tested in hidden star systems, far from prying eyes. We mapped every weakness in their empire, every critical system, every vital supply line, every command and control node. We built our civilian presence around these targets, watching, learning, understanding. And now we're going to show them exactly what humanity can do when properly motivated. The bridge crew worked with practiced precision, bringing weapons systems online. The ship's quantum core hummed with power that defied conventional physics. "Admiral," Helena reported, "we're detecting increased activity in the Arxen home fleet. They're beginning to realize something's wrong." "Too late," Blackwood replied. "They had their chance for peace. They chose war. Now they learn what that really means." He straightened in his command chair. "All ships, execute Phase 2. Operation Righteous Thunder is now active." Across Arxen space, human warships emerged from dimensional pocket space. Their true forms would shock the Empire's military analysts, sleek vessels of dark matter alloy, powered by artificial singularities, armed with weapons that could reshape reality itself. The first targets were the Empire's supposedly impregnable fortress stations. Quantum sabotage devices activated, turning their own defensive systems against them. Human ships struck with surgical precision, their attacks coordinated by artificial intelligences that could process combat data faster than organic minds could comprehend. In the first hour alone, 30 major military installations fell. The Arxen response was predictably arrogant. They threw ships at the problem, expecting their superior numbers to prevail. They didn't understand that humanity had spent centuries preparing for exactly this scenario. "Multiple Arxen battle groups approaching," Helena announced. "They're using standard attack patterns." "Standard patterns we spent 300 years studying," Blackwood noted. "Deploy countermeasures. Let's show them what they should have seen coming." The Retribution's weapon systems engaged, but instead of conventional energy weapons, they fired precisely calculated gravitational distortions. Arxen ships found their carefully planned formations twisted into chaos as space itself betrayed them. Their energy shields, designed to stop physical attacks, meant nothing against weapons that manipulated fundamental forces. "Sir," Lieutenant Park called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the Arxen High Command. They're requesting negotiations." Blackwood's expression remained stern. "Send them Ambassador Walsh's final recording, the one showing their Chancellor ordering her execution. Add a simple message. The time for negotiations has passed." As humanity's fleet began its methodical dismantling of the Arxen military, Blackwood reflected on the Empire's fatal mistake. They had assumed that humanity's greatest weapon would be our ships, our soldiers, our technology. They never understood that our greatest weapon was our capacity to wait, to plan, to prepare. And now they would pay the price for that misunderstanding. Director of Intelligence Evelyn Winters watched the data streams flow across her command center's screens, each line representing another piece of humanity's grand deception falling into place. From her position, deep within Earth's Quantum Intelligence Center, she could track every aspect of the plan she had spent decades crafting. Operation Market Collapse is proceeding as projected, reported Analyst Director Thomas Reed. The withdrawal of our quantum processing units has crippled 80% of their financial networks. Their currency is in free fall. Evelyn nodded, her silver hair reflecting the blue glow of holographic displays. "Show me the corporate infiltration map." The main screen shifted, displaying a complex web of connections. For 50 years, Human corporations had woven themselves into the fabric of Arxian society. They started small maintenance contracts, software updates, specialized components. Each business connection was a thread, and together they had created a web strong enough to strangle an empire. Fascinating, isn't it? She mused. They never questioned why human businesses were so eager to handle their most mundane tasks. Maintenance, waste management, software patches. They thought we were desperate for their contracts. The perfect Trojan horse, Thomas agreed. Every maintenance drone we sent contained quantum surveillance systems. Every software update included dormant command protocols. Every component we manufactured had hidden capabilities. A new alert flashed across the screens. The Arxian Empire's automated defense network was experiencing catastrophic failures. Weapons platforms turned against their own ships. Shield generators protected enemy vessels instead of allied ones. Communication systems broadcast tactical data on open channels. Director called out Senior Analyst Maria Santos. We're detecting increased quantum signatures from the Arxian capital. They're attempting to purge our systems. Evelyn allowed herself a small smile. Activate the Prometheus protocol. Across Arxian space, hidden quantum processors awakened. For decades, they had masqueraded as simple control chips, governing everything from waste recycling units to atmospheric processors. Now their true nature emerged. Quantum entanglement network established. Maria reported, all sleeper systems are online and acknowledging commands. The displays showed the spread of humanity's hidden influence. Every device, every system, every network they had touched over 50 years became a weapon. Atmospheric processors in Arxian colonies began subtle manipulations, making the air slightly less comfortable for Arxian biology. Waste management systems started microscopic resource diversions, creating small but critical shortages. They thought technology was about big weapons and powerful ships, Evelyn said, watching the cascade of system failures. They never understood that true power lies in controlling the small things, the things everyone takes for granted. A priority alert drew their attention. The Arxian High Command was attempting to coordinate a counteroffensive, gathering their remaining fleet for a decisive battle. They still think this is a conventional war, Thomas observed. They haven't realized that we've already won. We won years ago. They just didn't know it yet. Evelyn opened a secure channel to Admiral Blackwood's fleet. Admiral, the enemy is consolidating their forces at these coordinates. They're following Contingency Plan Delta, exactly as predicted. Of course they are. Blackwood's voice came back. They're using tactical doctrines we've spent centuries studying, executing counterattack pattern Omega-7. The displays showed human ships moving into position, but the real attack wouldn't come from the warships. It would come from within the Arxian fleet itself, from systems so fundamental to their operation that no one thought to check them for sabotage. Execute Operation Ghost in the machine, Evelyn commanded. Across the Arxian fleet, life support systems began reporting critical failures. Navigation computers showed incorrect coordinates. Power distribution networks developed mysterious fluctuations. None of the problems were immediately fatal. That would have been too obvious. Instead, they created 1,000 small crises, each demanding attention, each disrupting the fleet's ability to function as a cohesive unit. Director, Maria called out, we're detecting widespread panic in the Arxian command structure. Their battlefield coordination is breaking down. Send them the second package, Evelyn ordered. Let them see what they've really been facing all these years. Throughout the Arxian Empire, Every compromised system began broadcasting the same message. Detailed records of how humanity had infiltrated their civilization. The careful planning, the patient manipulation, the years of preparation. Let them understand that their defeat wasn't just military. It was the result of their own arrogance, their assumption that humans would think and act as they did. "They're beginning to realize," Thomas said quietly. "All this time, they thought they were the masters of the galaxy. They never suspected they were living in a web we spent 50 years weaving." Evelyn watched the Empire's carefully constructed power structure crumble, undone not by brute force, but by patience, planning, and the careful exploitation of their own blind spots. "The art of patience," she murmured. "That's what they never understood about humanity. We don't just fight with ships and soldiers. We fight with time itself." The displays continued to show the systematic collapse of the mighty Arxian Empire, brought low not by superior firepower, but by the quiet, patient infiltration of a species they had fatally underestimated. Grand Admiral Zarkon of the Arxian Empire stared in disbelief at the tactical displays, showing the systematic destruction of his fleet. Everything was failing: weapons, shields, life support systems. Even the quantum-encrypted command networks were compromised. "How?" he demanded. "How did they hide this level of technological advancement?" His answer came in the form of a human warship emerging from dimensional space directly in front of his command vessel. The ship was beautiful in its terrible purpose, a perfect fusion of art and destruction. Its dark matter hull absorbed all sensor scans. Its weapons systems defied known physics. The human vessel's commander opened a channel. Her face appeared on every screen in the Arxian fleet simultaneously, their compromised systems betraying them one final time. "You assumed that because we didn't show our strength. We had none," Fleet Commander Diana Reeves stated calmly. "You mistook our restraint for weakness, our patience for fear. Today, that mistake costs you everything." Human ships struck with devastating precision, their attacks coordinated with an efficiency that bordered on precognition. Each strike targeted critical weaknesses the Arxians didn't even know they had. As his mighty fleet crumbled around him, Zarkon finally understood the humans hadn't just been preparing for war, they had been reshaping the very nature of warfare itself. The Arxian Empire's fall had begun long before the first shot was fired. The end came not with a grand battle, but with a whimper. The Arxian Empire, mighty for 10,000 years, collapsed from within. Their economy shattered, their military broken, their technology turned against them. But perhaps most devastating was the psychological impact, the revelation that they had been completely outmaneuvered by a species they had dismissed as primitive. High Chancellor Vexthor stood in his ruined palace, watching human ships dominate the skies of his capital world. A message played on repeat throughout the Empire. The silence ends. The lesson begins. The humans didn't occupy their territory, didn't enslave their population. Instead, they systematically dismantled every instrument of imperial power, leaving the Arxians to face the consequences of their actions. The final transmission came from Admiral Blackwood himself. "Remember this lesson well. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our weapons or our technology. It's our ability to endure, to adapt, and to wait for the perfect moment to strike. You killed our ambassador thinking there would be no consequences. Now you understand. With humanity, there are always consequences. We just choose when to deliver them." As the human fleets withdrew, leaving behind a shattered empire, the galaxy learned a vital truth. Sometimes the most dangerous response to aggression isn't immediate retaliation. It's silence. For in that silence, humanity crafts its most devastating weapon: patience.